Okay, okay. Are you ready? Yeah? Everyone ready? Okay, good. I'm glad you're ready. So that is good. So what exactly are you ready for? That's the question. Are you ready for Nibbana or what are you ready for? We'll see what happens. So let us carry on. And we have looked a little bit at the idea of old age, contemplating old age, contemplating illness, and next one is death. And death kind of brings all of these things together. Yeah, usually before you die, hopefully you are old, hopefully. If not, it's bad to die if you're not old. Or you are sick also. Sickness, old age and death, they kind of come together and it kind of all culminates in the idea of death. So death is the most powerful of these contemplations. So let's have a look at how it is described here. What is the advantage of often reviewing this? I am liable to die. I am not exempt from death. There are sentient beings who drunk on the vanity of life. Kind of nice, isn't it? Drunk on the vanity of life. This is Bhante Sudato translation. I like that translation. They do bad things by way of body, speech and mind. Reviewing this subject, often they entirely give up the vanity of life, or at least they reduce it. This is the advantage of reviewing this. I am liable to die, I am not exempt from death. So this is the death contemplation. Yeah, very simple, very straightforward. And the thing is, it is so easy to forget that you're going to die. Sometimes this is the only life we have. It seems like, it seems like can't remember your past lives, don't really have any view to your future life, so it feels like this is it. And because it feels like this is it, we are very blinded by that. We don't see the larger picture of things. But the larger picture is incredibly important, because that is what gives meaning to this very life, if you understand the larger picture. As the point of this contemplation is not just to realize that you are going to die, but that is kind of obvious. We sort of know that already. But what is really interesting is that we don't know when we are going to die. I already mentioned this already, but that is kind of the critical thing. You don't know when. And because you don't know when, the only time to be ready to die is now. Now is the only time. By thinking in this way, what you do is that you, instead of making the death some kind of theoretical thing that will happen in the future, it's a superficial contemplation. The idea is here to really get a feeling that you're going to die. Yeah, if I don't know when, it means it can happen now. Are you ready to die now? Are you really ready to die now? Can you feel that you actually may die now? Can you get into that feeling? Once you get into that feeling that you could die at any moment, walking down the stairs, going into the traffic, dying of a heart attack, whatever it is, once that feeling arises, it kind of changes you somehow. It does something to you. It changes your priorities. It does something to how you think about your life. What is important? What are your priorities? All of these kind of things. If you can die just on leaving this building, it means that what is important to you is certainly very, very different. What matters is how you live right now, whether you are kind right now, whether you do the right thing, and all about the future, all about the past, all the ill will, all the desires, all the attachment, they seem kind of stupid. They seem irrelevant, if you're going to die now. And this is why you see when someone is about to pass away, sometimes they become very peaceful. Someone who has lived a good life and they are on the deathbed, they know how to die in a good way, they are peaceful on the deathbed. And instead of waiting for that peace to arrive when you actually die, take that ability into the present and become peaceful now by contemplating this. This is the idea here. This is kind of how it works. And so death contemplation can be very powerful, and it can be also be very useful. For example, if you start out, you want to do anapanasati, you want to focus on the breath, sometimes you can do a bit of death contemplation to start out, to focus yourself in the present moment. Why? Because dying is very similar to meditation practice. The two things have a very similar kind of trajectory, because when you are dying, you have to let go. You have no choice. Yeah, if you die well, it means letting go well. And instead of waiting with that letting go till you die, do it now, and it will enable your meditation practice, because the process is a similar one. So you bring that letting go into the present instead of waiting till the time you die. Yeah, it's kind of a beautiful way of learning this letting go experience, because you don't know when you're going to die. Now is the only opportunity you have to really let go. So this is kind of the purpose of this sort of thing, yeah. And you don't do anything bad by body, speech, and mind. In fact, you turn around. You think about life in an entirely new way. You make it visceral. You make it a felt experience. One of the things that you may also want to do as part of this death contemplation is to, one of the things that I sometimes find useful is to hear some of these near-death experiences. Yeah, I also mentioned this already, I think, on the previous retreat, or when we started out, because when you see these near-death experiences, or you read about what other people have gone through, it opens up your eyes to that larger reality. If other people say that this is what happens when you die, it is no longer a theoretical thing that you see in the sutras. It starts to become very real. This is what happened to me, for goodness sake. I died, and I kind of went to this other realm, and I had a life review, and I kind of judged myself, and then I, met some beings. I met my family members on the other side, and I went through this tunnel of light and whatever, all of these kind of things. And when people tell you that they went through that, you can't really reject it, especially when lots of people have very similar experiences in different places around the world, different culture, different religions, all of them doing the same thing. And I found, when I was reading this book called After by Bruce Grayson, what I found was that it actually changes you as well when you read those stories. Yeah, it makes you it does something to you just by reading the stories of people dying and then being revived again afterwards. So try that. See if that helps you a little bit in your contemplation of dying. Seeing if that kind of helps you to make it more real for you, the idea of death, the idea of rebirth, the idea of continuity, and all of these kind of things. And then maybe you can also use that too as part of that, the spiritual growth and even meditation practice itself. So death contemplation is not to be underestimated. And as I mentioned before, this is kind of the critical thing that the Buddha to be contemplated when he decided to go forth and to try to find an end to all the dukkha and all the problems in the world. What created Buddhism, what created the Dhamma, was a profound contemplation on death. Basically, that's what is going on here, and that's kind of extraordinary. Yeah, Buddhism is here because someone contemplated death very profoundly. That's essentially what is happening here. So try to make it a practice, maybe even daily, to remind yourself that you're going to die. If you, like one of the men I met a long time ago in Brisbane, I visited Brisbane maybe 20 years ago or something, and he told me that whenever he left his house in the morning, he would remind himself that I could die today. And that meant that when he left his house, that he said goodbye to his wife in a good way. He said goodbye to his kids in a good way. If you're going to die today, do you want to die after an argument with the people who are closest to you? You don't. Yeah, you want to say goodbye in a good way. And that's why every time we are with somebody, it could be the last time. Maybe this is the last time I see you, Werner. I'm going to be nice to you because of that. Because if it is the last time, of course we should be kind to each other. Yeah, we don't want to die after an argument or whatever. And because we can always die, it means that we tend to be more kind. So I could die today. Okay, I better leave in a good way. Better do the right thing. And so this is the idea. Death contemplation done rightly makes you a better human being. It gives rise to more compassion, more understanding. You put aside all the petty stuff. The petty stuff is what gets in the way very often. The stupidity of that we all have inside of us, kind of waiting to come out. Leave that to one side. Death clarifies what really matters, what is really important, and then you let go of all the other stuff. Use the opportunity when you see like someone else dying, you read about that, you see the death advertisements in the, wherever you may see them. And when you see those, remember that could be you. Yeah, that could be you in those that people who die. They are not different from you. Other people die, so can you. You are not any smarter than they are. Maybe you're less smart than they are. No, you are all the same, right? We're all in the same boat. People die for all kind of reasons. It's not because they are stupid that they die. It's because that's what happens to human beings. If you are a human being, then death is a possibility. Then you kind of get into the right track. So death contemplation. There are quite a number of suttas about this. The Buddha talks about the marana sanya, the perception of death, in many places. He talks about marana sati, the recollection of death, also in many places. He says you should bring it as close as you possibly can. The two things that he talks about in the suttas is to bring it close. So in other words, you can die at any time. The closer it is, the more powerful it is. And the other one is to remember all the causes of death. The more you remember all the various causes, the more realistic it becomes that it can happen at any time. And so this is kind of how it is explained in the suttas. Okay, that is the death contemplation in brief. Let's move on to the next one now. What is the advantage of often reviewing this? I must be parted and separated from all I hold dear and beloved. There are sentient beings who, aroused by desire and lust for their dear and beloved, do bad things by body, speech, and mind. Reviewing this subject often, they entirely give up desire and lust for their dear and beloved, or at least reduce it. This is the advantage of reviewing this. I must be parted and separated from all I hold dear and beloved. This is kind of obvious, that people do bad things because of their desire and attachment to those who are dear and beloved to them. This is so obvious. You in society you will lie and you will do all kind of things to make sure that that those people who are close to you that they will remain close to you. We get very, very upset if someone takes away our sweetheart and they run off with your sweetheart, and sometimes you may end up killing people. This is kind of called a crime of passion, because you are so close and they are so important to you. So lots of bad things happened in the name of desire for those things and those people who are dear and beloved. It's kind of very obvious. And so this then is this reminder that everything in the world is borrowed. Everything is temporary. We saw previously the sutta called the Potalya Sutta, where it talks about all the things in the sensory realm being borrowed goods. And even those people, those things that are the closest to us, they are borrowed relationships. We have them for the while. People come into our life for a certain period, and then they disappear again. All our relationships are like that. They are temporary comings together and then separation. Maybe they go over several lifetimes, but in the end they're all like that. Our children come into our life. We don't know where they come from, and then after they reach a certain age, they leave, and then they carry on their own lives. And then you die or they die, and you carry on in your separate ways. Or we have relationships with each other. We live together for a while, and then we separate again at some point. All human relationships have to be like that. Teachers and students, everything. And so this is just a reminder of these things, a reminder that everything in the world is impermanent. Everything in the world is unreliable. Everything in the world is uncertain. And you have to be an island unto yourself. You have to take the Dhamma to be your island and yourself to be an island. This is the message of the Buddha in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. You may remember this, where the Buddha is about to pass away and everyone feels kind of terrible. The Buddha is sick. And then Ananda says to the Buddha, oh, the directions aren't clear to me. I can't remember the Dhamma. Venerable Ananda is a stream enter. He can't remember the Dhamma. Remember, it's kind of extraordinary, isn't it? Let alone us. What are we going to do? If Venerable Ananda can't remember the Dhamma, we are in serious trouble. And of course, the Buddha is very, very important to them. And then the Buddha says exactly this. Haven't I told you everything that is dear and beloved? He says precisely this thing here. Everything that is dear and beloved must be separated from you, must be parted from you. Exactly this particular phrase that you find here. Again, the crossover in the suttas is just everywhere. And then he says there is only one island, there is only one refuge, and that is in yourself. And then he says how that happens, and how it happens is that by the practice of the four satipatthanas. And of course the four satipatthanas really comes down to things like breath meditation. And it is when you kind of withdraw within yourself, you let go of the world outside, the five external senses, you let go of that, and you go inside of yourself, you find peace, you find joy maybe, you find a sense of solidity, a sense of the real home, which is Ajahn Chah called samadhi, the internal thing. That is where you are safe, because that inner world, that inner life that you have, that is personal. It doesn't rely on external things for happiness or for stability or for any of these things. That is the only island you have. And in that island is also the Dhamma, because that meditation practice is a result of Dhamma. It's a result of the teaching of the Buddha. All of those things come together inside of you when you go deep inside meditation. So this is the island unto yourself, making the Dhamma your island. This is what this is all about. And then the external world, you you let go of that little bit. So the purpose of reviewing these subjects, all of this one, including this one, is really to make you more independent, to remind you where the real refuge is. The real refuge is not in the world outside. The world outside is inherently problematic. People often wonder, why are we so down on sensual pleasures in Buddhism? And the reason we are down on it is not because of the sensual pleasures as such, but because the sensual objects of the world are unreliable. This is what this is about, the sensual world being unreliable. This is really what it means. You have to connect this up with the idea of the five sense realm. This is the five sense realm being uncertain. So this is what this is about. Impermanence is uncertainty is maybe one of the most fundamental aspects of right view in Buddhism. And that's why the Buddha, on his deathbed, in Kushinara, between the two sal trees, his last words, Vaya Dhamma Sankhara Apamadena Sampadeta, the last words of the Buddha, Vaya Dhamma Sankhara. Sankhara is all phenomena. All phenomena have the nature to vaya. Vaya means to disappear, to end, to cease. That's what vaya means. Vaya Dhamma Sankhara. All phenomena have the nature to disappear, to vanish. Apamadena Sampadeta. Sampadeta, succeed, practice, apamadena, with heedfulness. Be heedful, be careful, be circumspect, be wise, in other words. So that is two things. One is the right view. The other one is the practice that comes from that. The right view is Vaya Dhamma Sankhara. The practice is Apamadena Sampadeta. It's a very short form of the whole Buddhist teachings. Starting with the right view and the consequences of that right view. So it summarizes right view in a sense, this idea of uncertainty, unreliability, impermanence, nothing to hold on to, Vaya Dhamma Sankhara. What have you got to do? You have to be careful, circumspect, wise because of that. And this means taking your refuge, finding your refuge, going for refuge in the right place, to the Dhamma, to the practice of the Dhamma, through meditation, etc., etc. Okay. So that is this particular one. Please don't make these things into something heavy and negative and bad. That is not what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be there to lift you up and move you in the right direction towards the spiritual path. Balance all of these kind of tough reflections with the joy of the practice. Do many good things so you can feel joyful. Remember that the purpose of all this is to make you happy. This is kind of the point. And if you feel that these things make you miserable, then please don't do them. Only do them if they make you happy, if they add value to your life. The whole purpose of the spiritual path is to add value, to become more contented and happy people. So that's kind of the purpose of this. So every year when you come back here, maybe maybe see what happens, then you can reflect and review whether you actually are reaching, heading in the right direction or not. Let's come to the last of these 5 things. What is the advantage of often reviewing like this? I am the owner of my deeds and the heir to my deeds. Deeds are my womb, my relative, and my refuge. I shall be the heir of whatever deeds I do, whether good or bad. There are sentient beings who do bad things by body, speech, and mind. Reviewing this subject often, they entirely give up bad conduct, or at least reduce it. This is the advantage for a woman or a man, a layperson or renunciant, of often reviewing like this. I am the owner of my deeds, and the heir to my deeds. Deeds are my womb, my relative, and my refuge. I shall be the heir of whatever deeds I do, whether good or bad. So these are the intentional actions that we do. You are the owner. Why are you the owner? Well, because you take them with you. You can't get rid of them. You have to take them with you. You do a bad act, that act gets lodged in your psyche, and you bring it with you into the future. You do a good act that gets lodged in your psyche, and you bring it into the future. You have to take this with you. You become the heir to these deeds, because these deeds will then have results. So you become the heir of them. They are your real relative. They are your refuge in a way. In the sense that that's what's going to happen to you. This is kind of, they become a refuge if you do well, and they become a kind of anti-refuge if you do bad. They will torture you. It's kind of the torture refuge if you do bad things. And so you are reminded of all of this, and then you do the right thing as a consequence. So it sounds kind of harsh. What shall you do if you have already done some bad things or many bad things in your life? What you shall do is to dilute those bad things by living well, and then you dilute them. So the ownership is not absolute. You don't do them and then you take them with you exactly the same way that you do them. It's a relative kind of ownership. You take them with you, but you dilute them on the way, and you make them less powerful, and then you strengthen the good acts instead. This is how the right way of thinking about this. Your actions, this is what you really own in the world. All the things that we think we own, we don't actually own. What we don't think we own, we do own. People often get this the wrong way around. They think they own their house. They think they own their car. They think they own their family. Actually, don't own those things at all. You have to give them up so fast. But all those actions that you think are fleeting, you just do something bad. I've got to do bad because I need that money to pay off my new car. I need this nice car. Actually, what you're doing there is that you think you own the car, you don't own that deed. That's why you prioritize the car over the bad deed. You should do the other way around. You should forget about that bloomin' car and instead do the right kind of deed, not do that bad deed. We can see how we get things the wrong way around. You're willing to do a bad deed to get something in this world, when actually what you really own is that deed and not that thing. You can see how crazy it is. We are silly. We don't believe in rebirth. We don't understand how these things lodge in our minds and stay with us for the long term. Because of that, we do stupid things. So remember what you really own, and remember what you don't own. And as you do that, you will start to change your attitude to things in the world. So this is the idea of kamma and how we should reflect on that. What next? Wow, it goes on. I think there's quite a lot more in this sutta. So we'll do that tomorrow. We'll stretch this sutta over 2 days because it's a very inspiring sutta. I don't believe in doing too many things in one go because it goes in one ear, out the other. And so it's better to stick with these things that we have done a little bit. So let's have a short break, another 5 minutes, and then we'll do the Q&A session afterwards.